game, talk your shit, grab your gap. Spit your game, talk your shit, grab your gap. Spit your game, talk your shit, grab your gap. On your face.
Well, hello there.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy DJBiggs. Yes, with another show of Talk Yo Shit. For real, man. Honestly, I'm very proud right now, and I just wanted to say this to start off the show. This is our 8th show, our 8th episode. That's 2 full months.
Damn right.
2 full months.
I need to pick you up my
on the show. Huh? Oh. So you just turned me off.
That's okay.
So they didn't even hear me.
That's okay though. Yeah, they heard us. They heard you. They heard you.
So they didn't even hear me. But anyway, so it's your boy DJBiggs. Hello again. And to my left.
Hi, I'm your girl Snow. I missed y'all. What's going on? Thank you for tuning in.
And I'm the guy, Shata Don with the Yoni plan. Remember that. So listen, man.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is the Yoni plan?
What's the Yoni plan?
Yeah.
I gotta get my book.
That's a nice question.
You gotta get my book. You know what I mean?
That's a nice question.
You know what I mean? Listen, it's the plan to make sure that that Yoni is well taken care of. You know what I mean? Y'all get that. Yeah.
So
check.
Today. Oh my God! Let me take another sip.
Really?
I stay doing it. But so today's show is already. You already know I'm always doing that. Gotta have a scissor.
Well, I kind of want to know what you're drinking.
I ain't gonna tell him what I'm drinking. It's grown man business.
He ain't gonna share with y'all.
It's grown man business. All you know is in a blue cup. Huh?
The blue cup.
The blue cup.
The infamous blue cup. So, anyway, y'all.
So what we got today?
First of all, this show is dedicated to group sex, threesomes, and relationships within those threesomes. Yeah, we gonna spice it up a little bit today. Today, I decided.
Why your face look like that?
No reason.
No reason. No reason. Sound like it
I
look
remember
like
saying on one of the shows that she didn't do the whole group thing yet.
Oh, I'm into the group thing. What movie is that from?
I don't know.
Coming to America.
Oh, I don't remember.
Emphasis on the come part.
Hey, yo, bro, that's too funny, bro. Anywho.
Yeah.
So.
Did you say bull coffee?
Yeah. we just gonna let that one pass.
I'm actually trying to edit this thing because this guy over here wants me to do a broadcast list, and
you want to do it
right now.
But he also needs to get off his phone and pay attention.
No, but it's his fault. You know what I'm saying? And just letting y'all know.
Okay.
But anyway, we're gonna get into the sex news of the day, and basically the sex news of today is just basically capitalizing on the sex trends that are happening within 2019. Being that it's single. What's going on over there?
I put my phone behind me and then I realized it's gonna vibrate a little bit.
Oh my God!
Right now. Y'all want to see the reaction to this?
Hey yo!
Originally, I was gonna put it right here, like this, right? But then I realized that.
That's where you're supposed to put it at.
Oh, it's okay. It's
I
good.
can't.
You put it in your lap.
No, now he got to call her. Now he has to call
Put it in your
her.
lap.
Does it?
Yeah.
Let's get started with this show.
Y'all started with the show.
That's a show right there, all in itself. Let's go ahead. Who wants to see the vibration sensation? We need a thumbs up in the chat right now.
It's ringing.
It's ringing. Oh, shit.
It's going off.
It's ringing.
It's vibrating. The light is flashing.
No. Put it where you thought you were going to put it.
Trying to keep her face so straight.
Nah, bro. Why you like?
Showtime. Showtime to talk your
This
shit.
ain't the Apollo.
Yeah.
These niggas love talking shit.
I talk that shit.
Always talk that shit. Always. Hello.
All right, so my bad. Go ahead.
So
what's the topic tonight?
Anyway, the topic is tonight basically is the top sex trends of 2019.
Yeah.
Meaning,
Yeah.
what we can expect in 2019. You know, more group sex.
Group sex.
More
We're
group
already
sex.
halfway the year now.
No, I know, but it's
And it's still trending?
it's getting a whole lot bigger.
So you're saying millennials are enjoying group sex more?
Right. And what they're also doing is they're also actually, because I was going to pull up the article, but they're also getting kinkier.
Yeah?
A whole lot kinkier, a lot more experimentation.
You like kink?
I feel like, this is my era.
So basically it's kind of like bringing back the 60s. If y'all know anything about the 60s, it was all about experimenting with mind-boggling drugs with multiple sex partners. You know what I'm saying? This is before the whole AIDS and all the other stupid shit, like the viruses came about. It was just free-for-all fucking and mind-boggling drugs.
Anytime I think of the 60s, I see like big old Urkel glasses.
What?
And like a nerd vision. And in the 70s, it's more like a party era.
But the nerds, like, they really, like, you gotta know that they, nerds get it in more. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I'm a nerd. Yeah, tell me.
They are definitely,
You ain't gotta tell me, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, really and truthfully,
Yeah.
we're looking at more sexy, kinky stuff, as well as, even in relationships. They're saying that the number one thing with relationships now is threesomes.
I want to know, does guys ask for this more or does females?
Actually, it's
That's a good question.
actually the ratio is pretty much split in the middle when I was looking up the numbers.
Oh, wow.
Wait a minute. This is news to me.
Wow.
You're telling me
Wow.
girls are asking for threesomes as much as guys?
Okay. Let me cut you right there.
Right.
Girls are not asking for threesomes. They're just bringing like some of their friends into the bedroom, surprising their men with it. They're just like, oh babe, I got a surprise for you.
So you're saying
Hello?
the whole double standard is getting blurred.
Oh,
Yeah, it's getting.
You're knocking down that wall.
Yeah.
wow.
Beautiful.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Guys that are asking for it, it's being more reciprocated. And actually, girls, because they're opening up more to their sexuality, at least the millennials, they're opening up more to their sexuality.
Yeah.
It's becoming less and less taboo, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
So, you younger kids got a lot of promise. You're doing it.
Because I've prepared a segment for our viewers to look at, so we can kind of speak on this, right?
Right?
And I'm putting it right now. It's basically, the question is, why is this okay?
Right.
Which is one guy and two girls, right?
Right.
And why is this not okay when it's one girl and two
Oh,
guys?
you mean, yeah, so basically I actually saw this. First of all, shout out to Red Cup Life. Basically it's a community group page that I'm actually on Facebook. Shout out to King. He actually he posted this earlier and I was like, yo, this is so fascinating. You know what I'm saying? Why?
Wait, what's Red Cup Life? Because you got Blue Cup, and I feel like everybody got cups.
No.
I'm missing out of this.
No. It's not to be
Educate
broadcast.
us.
So basically, what it is the fact that this double standard right here, okay, it really sucks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I fuckery.
I think I fuckery.
Yeah.
Beer fuckery. Ladies, you're telling me that. Ladies, I know you feel the same way as well. The whole gender, borderlines being crossed. I'm pretty sure you can relate to this. But
Why? Because I'm a lady?
of course, because you're a lady.
Oh.
She might act like
Because
because
I feel like you probably have had this restriction. Maybe you don't care You know what I'm saying? Because we know that you're highly sexual. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there has to have been some strain on it because of the fact that a guy can sleep with multiple women, and
Right.
he's a man.
Right.
Right.
We talked about this a whole lot before. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you know, a girl sleeps with multiple dudes, and she's a hoe, a slut. You know, all of this other stuff.
Right.
How come she cannot have, and which I think is really stupid, because how come she can't just be seen as having a healthy sexual appetite just like he is?
I mean,
Let's talk about it.
Listen.
Let's talk about it.
First of all, everybody know I'm an advocate for feminism.
Right.
Right. I'm a huge advocate for that because I feel like you got 10. The only thing that's different is what's on your chest and what's between them legs.
Actually, I'm gonna say it like Thugnificent said it on Boondocks. I'm for the bitches.
It works, I get it.
Boondocks.
Real life is what it is.
Yeah. Listen.
You so stupid.
I give it to her from the back, she converted at some point. So,
honestly, man, like for real though.
Listen, right? Who come up with this dumbass rule that chicks can't give up the coochie as much as they want? Have a great sexual appetite and feel younger, live younger, and less stress.
You know what I think? I think a woman came up with that.
Ooh, that's interesting as hell.
This is a twist.
Wait.
I did not even think that.
No, because all right, hold up. I gotta explore this. Now you see, now I'm turned around, and I'm facing you. So,
Talk to me.
because I'm about to.
Fascinates you.
Right. No, but the thing is just because women will lie to each other. Like how he's like, oh, do you think he's into me?
Right.
And all of them. Of course, she just doesn't know what he wants.
Basically.
Keep doing this and keep doing that.
Right.
Like,
and so they're he's not into you.
Right. They're just sending.
That nigga don't want you.
Right. They're just sending their sister to slaughter.
Absolutely.
So are you saying that this ideology,
right.
Yes, this fuckery.
Fuckery could have came from a woman that's also deemed. So it is to show that women are demoralized in that way?
Yeah, by other women, to be honest with you. I feel as though it comes from a woman. I feel as though that it's created.
Wait.
One more time.
Say that again.
I feel as though it came.
It's not on live chat, bro.
I want to.
I feel as
It's
not.
It's on top chat. I don't know why. He has it on
I don't
live
know what
chat.
the fuck that is. It was Top Chat. Anyway.
Top chat and live chat is different. Like turn it to live chat and you'll see.
I don't even know.
so
what the
weird.
fuck is
There we
Top
go.
Chat and Top Chat.
Okay.
Anyway,
So I feel as though a woman created that simply because.
Yeah.
by the way, y'all, please chime in on this. I need to see y'all comments because this is gonna be serious. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
To be easily put, women don't lift each other. They bring each other down. And this is where a lot of friendships go wrong. Simply because a woman will tell you what you want to hear.
They're in competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. It's that passive aggressive love. It's not necessarily always true. So
That
it's
fake
like
love.
if you go to your friend and say, listen, I'm considering having sex with this guy, and then my boyfriend, he's down for it. Instead of her being like, girl, shit, like, damn, how you gonna get him to do that? Like, how can I do it? I'm curious. Tell me more. I'm not the type to do it, but I want to know more because I'm curious.
Right.
They'll be like, oh, girl, don't do that. Is he gay? Why does he want to do this? It's just all this stuff. I feel as though it's because women really don't know, in a sense, how to admit what they truly want. So when you find a woman that admits what she truly wants, you want to bring her down because there's that fear of like, wait a minute, she's comfortable with wanting what she wants, then that means other women are comfortable with that. No, I'm not going to be hip to that.
Because I've seen it overseas. Women are actually in tune. Like what we have over here is so taboo. Like that shit is taboo. Like male, female instead of female, male. You get what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. Oh yeah, gotta have the two females. Which, yes, I have experienced. It's great. It's
Right.
fun. All of that stuff.
Right.
But when now it's seen as fun. Now if it's male, female, now she's getting run a train on.
Right.
You see all these derogatory.
I feel like it's ignorant people that even come up with like when that name came out, train.
Yeah, right.
Well, first of all, Jamaica we used to
Choo
call
choo.
we used to call it battery.
It's batteries, guys.
Yeah, I don't say that because in America that's a crime. But so in Jamaica I get that. But when I came here, it never used to be said so much. I think I was like maybe middle school, high schoolish.
Right.
When they're like, oh, you're gonna train on that, and I'm like, why would you even put it out like that? I shouldn't want to give them more pussy
To nobody.
You cutting off the supply, man.
She gotta change schools.
You know what I mean?
Now,
Her life. So, in essence, I feel that women created it because women are closed-minded and men are more open-minded. And they're more comfortable with being open-minded because they're men, quote unquote.
wait, but
that breeds that analogy.
Right.
I mean, I feel like from birth, I was told, yeah, man, fuck the girl, yeah.
And then
do that.
but from there, like the original state, yeah, you must only sleep with one man. You must get married before you have sex. All of this, you're creating certain boundaries and stipulations that will not ever be met.
Absolutely.
That's true. The false standards.
And if they are met, they're usually boring.
Yeah, I think
it's not even you.
The couples that get married the couples that get married before they have sex usually are miserable.
I mean,
wait. Talk about that again. You said the couples that
They get married before they have sex.
Oh yeah.
Before the test drive.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I
can't tell when last I met a virgin, so I don't think that'd be happening.
Not necessarily virgin, because there are some women that recreate themselves and re-virginize themselves in a sense.
Oh, so to speak. Yeah.
Rebirth.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
they don't want to have sex until they're married, and then they go get married and they have sex. And like, what is this?
You better try.
So wait. So that's gonna set up the biggest divorce rates in history. Because what if you don't test drive that cocky there, woman?
Yeah.
Women, listen to me real quick. You don't test drive the dick, and he pop up with a little a little tickle. tickle. Nah, we ain't. Look, first of all, ain't no love in that.
Right.
And I know for sure ain't no love in that.
No.
Pop up with a tickle.
Yeah, gonna pop up with the goddamn tickle. Nigga, please.
One of the movies that I love is The Savage. It's about a girl and two guys. One of the guys is street, very thuggish. The other guy is very gentlemanlike, earthy, and So Blake Lively stars in it with these two amazing, gorgeous men, and she sleeps with both of them. She's in an actual committed relationship, and they have sex. They have sex in the shower. They have sex in the bed. They love each other, but there is no intimacy between both men.
Right.
It's always
they
with
know
the
about each
woman.
other.
Yes, they live in the same house. They share the same life.
Yeah,
And that is actually the definition of a savage. See, there's that whole thing about like nowadays that people say, "Oh, I'm savage," right? But reality is, no, you're not savage. You have no idea what savage is. Savagery is relating to sex, and when people say that, I think it's so funny because they have no idea what they're saying.
Right.
So the whole point of me saying that is that in that movie, they show you how that relationship can be built and mended and actually be happy. They were actually really, really, really happy. They had the best. She had the best of both worlds. She had the perfect man.
Yeah, because of course she got her balance out of both of them. She got the thug, she got the gentleman, she got everything. I get that.
And they were all in the drug game.
Oh, she was a drug queen too?
She was a drug queen.
I've been saying this
word.
I've been saying this for years.
They actually had a legal in California, a legal weed pot place, whatever they're called. And they ran the business together, and they lived happily ever after.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Those sex scenes, oh my god.
Okay.
Who wouldn't want that? That shit was.
It sounds like you want that a lot right now. Is it vibrating?
It was going off. But I had to stop.
Listen.
Yo, Roddy, what's up, man? Talking about in late who's making moves. We ain't working. Well, we working. You ain't.
We appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying?
Not your father. Is he?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All right,
Listen.
what?
I was always saying this. You can't really get it from just one person, I feel, because we have so many different personalities. You feel what I'm saying? So threesome is the same thing. Like, I'm all for a girl, you know, saying, listen, man, you do what we do. I like it. I like that over there, too. Whatever. It can be cool. I don't see why they're being slut-shamed or whatever. Personally, these are just words. You know what I mean? And words is something you give people the power to use over you.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, I give a fuck about your opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's me at the end of the day. Like, I just feel like if you are a female and you want to, let me tell a story. That reminds me of a story.
Oh.
Okay. Story time. You see?
Story time.
Listen, I met this girl. She's like 19, 20. I don't remember. On the age, right? And she lost her virginity like maybe 6 months ago when I met her, right? And she's like, listen, one of her fantasies, like, she's feeling this dude, you know, emotion, whatever. But at the same time, she got a fantasy where it's like, yo, I want 5 black guys to bang me at the same time.
Whoa. Okay.
Honestly, I was at a whoa too because she just lost her virginity. And I'm like, I know that rush when, you know, you just get some cocky and you want some more.
Wait, somebody says, I don't mean to
It's
interrupt
okay.
you. What did it
What
say?
if she wants a man into that threesome? Are you comfortable with that?
That's what we're saying. We're trying to be pro that. Like the fact that, you know,
male, female
is looked upon in a negative light, and it shouldn't be looked upon in a negative light.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We are. If you didn't get that part, we're letting you know right now.
I feel like a whole heap of guys really don't have a problem with it. It's really the woman, like I said, not supporting the woman.
You think so?
With it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I definitely think that.
It's what they think about themselves after. But I want you to continue and finish that story, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was shocking to me because, you know, it was kind of like she just lost her virginity. I'm like, man, you're on 5 at the same time. And she's like, yeah, you know, it's just this whole allure of her being taken care of sexually, like all parts of her body being touched. And then I thought about it. I was never able to suck on some titties while I'm sucking on the pussy at the same time. This is going to require a friend.
Mm-hmm. like the billionaire. Let's phone a friend.
Like, what part of the body do you want? Let's put it to the ass. I got you.
Like
beautiful young lady here. You know? She would like to be sorted out.
Sex has been so damn taboo within America. It's just not even funny.
Yeah. Facts.
Like it gets put in a negative light. We're not able to express ourselves sexually. We're not comfortable with sexuality. And I believe it's not only just like it might be that whole woman thing, but it's also in turn to make money. It's a conspiracy. You know, because look at how much money the porn industry makes.
Yep. You know what I mean? Listen, right now with devices and camera, I feel like everybody is, you know, kind of recording a little kink, and the more you kind of watch yourself back, it makes you kind of, I want to do something extra.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. That's where the kink,
definitely.
that's where the extra kink comes from, because everybody's saying that, you know, like everybody's doing it. Their own little sex tapes, you know. They're doing some real crazy shit. The third one was the whole anal sex thing. I don't know if I really want to talk on topic of that. The only good thing I can say about anal sex is, ladies, if you got a small booty and you want some more, fax is the fastest way for you to get some ass. Just saying.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Listen,
I thought it was spanking, but
no,
probably because I like spanking.
Right, no, but that's
what you use to convince them.
Right, that's exactly
for real. I'm telling you. Anybody that's been around me for a long time, they get some booty, I'll tell you.
Hey, yo.
I promise.
Nah, but on the real though, like those two things, like the whole group sex thing where, you know, women are actually breaking out of that, the millennials are breaking out of that shell, wanting to experiment more. They're liking women and that they're liking themselves and other women more. You get what I'm saying? But fellas, y'all have to start representing as well, man, because y'all are gonna eventually let these women demasculize.
I felt like Biggs had a take on this, right?
What?
I remember you speaking
For real, man. Like, seriously.
Where it came from with the whole ideology that, you said woman, you know what I mean? That's your take on it. Women really kind of shun other women. That's why the double standard is there. Big has a different take on it.
Yeah.
Speak your mind, Professor.
Yes.
Well, no, please remind me, because I know
You were saying, right? So he was basically saying, the
oh yes, the female superiority is very, very threatening. Number one, to a man,
right?
And the male inferiority is what the ego, so to speak,
right,
is what actually fuels and helps this fire keep burning.
Right.
Now, fellas, if you're an alpha male, you're just an alpha male. Okay, the alpha male doesn't mean you're the top honcho or whatever. An alpha male can command different facets of respect without even speaking.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All he has to do is just be hit.
That's right.
You understand? That's an alpha male. Oh, word. I appreciate that. See that?
Yeah.
You saw that?
And bow down to the alpha male.
That's
And this is coming from an alpha female.
Yo, you dope.
You dope.
No, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, when you recognize real, it's just look. It says we're not receiving data from, like, okay, you, Mr. Tech guy.
Don't watch YouTube. YouTube retarded. Everybody's still seeing us. I promise.
Okay. I just
hope
this. I promise.
I just hope when we watch this back, shit don't go.
Right? It's a 2-month anniversary.
For real, it's 2-month anniversary, man. We can't be having no issues. I do.
What's up here? Anyway, content.
Yo, you just a killjoy, bro. Every day. Anyway, so I'm focused, man. Tell this nigga to holla at me, man.
Initiative. Why for that?
Young Biggs, you heard? Anyway, let me stop. But for real though, it doesn't allow us to experience certain things and certain facets of life that could be quite beautiful. Experiences could be quite beautiful. But the things that are so taboo and so, it must be like this, these are ideologies of past people that are in the past. You know what I'm saying? That have no type of, they would tell you that it's wrong, and they would go behind your back, behind screens and whatnot, and do it themselves. Okay? Just case in point.
Still got babies.
Case in point. A lot of the controversy, and I'm not trying to get real churchy with this, but I grew up in the Roman Catholic Church, but it had the most freaking sin.
The hypocrites.
The hypocrites was just too much. You gonna sit there and say that I'm a priest and I'm a high priest and all of this and I don't have sex. Well, hold up. First of all, y'all have nuns. You telling me y'all ain't fucking off the nuns? Y'all lying. That's number one, because I done seen so many stories. Not only that, but they sodomizing little boys and all of this shit here. You know what I'm saying? So, no. Don't be coming to try to judge me talking about Spiritu Santo, all of that bullshit. You a liar, boy.
Free yourself.
You know what I'm saying?
Trying to keep out of the boom boom.
You know what I'm saying? You trying to keep all of this stuff to yourself while you telling me not to do it. The fuck out of here, boy. I ain't on the real.
You know what though? I have a question.
What's up?
Your theory sounds good, right? But in reality, the woman is the one that controls the relationship. The reason I say that is because a man only does what the woman wants him to do, in essence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of like a man will only do what a woman allows him to do. Same thing. True. So, the reason that I say that is because since we're the ones that control it, a man will be comfortable with, if this woman comes to him and says, babe, I love you. I do, and our sex is fucking amazing. But I think that if we added someone else, it would be even more amazing. Now listen.
The regular male. Can I give you the regular male's response? Hell yeah, man, let's do that. Which one of your homegirls? You want to know something?
Okay,
I've been looking at Tasha.
Okay.
I've been looking at Tasha.
Okay.
I don't think most guys would respond that way.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would.
So no, it's not Tasha. It's gonna be a brand new girl that we both meet.
That's all
Brand new
we're
girl?
respond.
Yes.
Word.
Why can't be your home?
Right? Natasha. But I'm also thinking, since we're gonna add another girl, maybe we can add another guy too.
Of course.
Now, babe.
Hold on, can I do the regular guy response?
Of course.
I don't know about all that. You know. What are you trying to say? Hold on, wait a minute. You want to fuck another dude?
Yes.
No, why do you want to fuck another dude?
Because I think about it.
No, hold on. So you trying to tell me that you cheating on me in your mind? I thought that I'm the only one that's occupying your mind. Nah, you done. I'm done with it. I'm done. We done.
Okay, well actually.
No, we done.
You occupy my mind, my pussy, my asshole.
No, we done.
You holding me.
I don't care. Why am I even still here?
Listen.
That's a nigga you should not meet. You about to lose his things and everything.
I'm playing the part real good because I've seen it too many times.
So, I mean, if she comes to him and says, you know, babe, like I just want to experiment and have fun. I'm not leaving you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You're all I want. But at the same time, just like you want another girl, I want another girl. I'm not saying you want another guy, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe we should try it out and see. Like, all right, well, how would this be positioned? Simple. I'm sucking your dick. He's fucking me from behind.
Can I be real with you?
You just like.
Can I be real with you? Like I've always said this like this. If I'm, and y'all might think I'm crazy, but this is just the way I think. Cause I don't want to be a hypocrite. If I could ask my girl, hey, baby, I want a threesome. I want to, you know, we go and look at get another girl and everything. We have a little bit of fun. If she comes back to me and says, babe, I want to, you know, the only stipulation that I have, and I have to, like, she can give me my type of fantasy, but I'm not obliged to give her hers. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's selfish shit. You know what I'm saying? That's also being a hypocrite.
That is.
Now, hold on. The thing about it is, the only stipulation that I would have is the fact that, yo, I'm not touching him.
Yeah.
No.
That's it. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
He over there, I'm over here, ain't nothing between us but you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You feel what I'm saying? Like,
and the other.
Here's the thing, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's, honestly, that's just me though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have the whole catch-22.
So, I'm going to throw something out. I'm going to kind of go around the panel.
Okay.
Alright, so, you know, you kind of, you know, self-sexual. You masturbate all the damn time. But starting with you, Biggs. Which one have you done before? Male, female, female.
Can I be honest? You want me to be honest?
Talk this shit.
Yes.
I've done both.
You know,
Whoa.
now,
You living your best life, my G.
the male,
I
female.
lived my best life.
Male, you still living.
Right.
I will get better, right?
Nah, I'm just, honestly, I'm like, that was younger age, you know what I'm saying? I'm 35 now, ladies, you know what I'm saying? It ain't,
Now, hold on. When I say done this, I ain't really talking about you and your homeboys linking and go check a girl type of vibe, you know, like, this your girl you shared.
Oh, this is good. Actually, you know, I've never had it because I've even expressed to my exes before, like, if you wanted me and you another dude, they always told me this one thing: no, that'll never happen. No. And I'm like, okay.
That could be the case.
What?
It could be lying.
I mean, I think
they cheated.
right. Whoa, so you want to put niggas' business out there on that? Yeah.
Could be the case, right?
Okay, so thank you for trying to make
say
me
that
look
to
like
say
this, like the dumbass nigga. Okay, so anyway,
Not at all.
nah. He
I
just
say that
pulled
to
my
say
card,
Well,
but it's cool.
I say that to say
No. You can't say that to say
me
nothing.
finish.
I ain't letting you finish
I
shit.
say that to say
You a
this,
punk
right?
ass nigga for that. What I'm trying to say is that I know. First of all, they cheated for the wrong. I can't believe
Doesn't
we're
matter.
discussing this shit.
Like, we ain't
No,
gonna
like,
go there.
no, but that's what I'm trying. No, but
just
you went
to
there already. Don't go there. You're not gonna go there. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here, G. That was mad disrespectful, B.
All right, my apologies. Now,
Yeah, okay. Next subject.
I say,
Fuck out of here.
a lot of times, right? I mean, I've counseled women a lot of times. They come to me and they really want to do these things, but they feel like the guy wouldn't really go for something, so they rather do shit.
And that's stupid.
Feeling somebody 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, damn. Well, you at least give the nigga a chance to like, nah, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or test out the response, and then you can decide how you feel about it.
No, but that's the stupidest thing to me.
But I kind of understand it. I don't condone cheating. I don't believe in it. But I kind of understand it. Like, I have a test when I'm having sex with, my significant other. I usually ask him to describe to me how they fucked another girl, and the more they talk about it, the more it turns me on. But there are a few of them that are not comfortable. Like, they feel like it's a test. They feel like it's like.
What are you asking me? Why?
Right? Exactly.
Why?
So I got caught already. They ain't even did nothing.
So that also tells me that if he's not comfortable telling me about what he did to another girl and seeing that it turns me on, that means you're not going to be able to see that I'm going to want more.
Right.
And that conversation itself. So listen, remember the other day when I was fucking you and you were talking about the chick, and I'm curious, like, who is she? Like, would you be willing to bring her in? That topic of discussion is null and void. That shit is dead. It's fucking gone. It's dead.
It's like,
okay? So, because usually it's like, oh, why are you asking me that? Like, nah, don't. My favorite one. Don't even worry about that shit, nigga. I'm not worried about it. I just want to see what you look like when you're fucking another girl.
Yo,
I want to see that. I want to see you in action. I want to watch that shit. I want to direct.
I'm gonna speak from that dude's position right now.
That's interesting. Go ahead.
I was asked this by a girl I was dealing with, right? And this was earlier when I was a little bit inexperienced with what was sexual fucking. And she always said it to me. She asked me 3 times on 3 different occasions. I remember she said, I want to see you fucking another girl. Every time she does, she has a little grin on her face.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, is you fucking with me right now?
Are you OD?
Or you like really down to see that shit?
Get the fuck out of here with that.
I can call somebody, you know what I mean? But I'll be like, nah, wait, I don't know if you fucking with me, right?
Yeah.
But it was just that mentality that I was brainwashed with to think that automatically women ask those type of stuff out of insecurity.
Absolutely.
You feel what I'm saying? So I can see from the guy's point of view. So that's why we're having this conversation. Like, guys, I don't feel like y'all should be afraid to talk to your significant other regardless of how you feel. Like, damn, that shit turned me on. I never knew it did. Or, I saw that shit right there. She did that and it turned me on. I ain't trying to cheat or nothing. I just want to express to you this happened. You feel what I'm saying?
What do y'all think? Like, drop a comment in the chat. We really want to hear from y'all and see exactly what it is that y'all think about this whole subject. The whole group sex, the threesome stuff. Like, what's a no-go for you and what isn't a no-go for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely want to hear that because honestly, I need just more than us 3 opinions. We kind of have that. We're in the same realm.
We are.
Yeah.
We're all open and nasty as fuck.
I like the word naughty, but
why you saw her face on that? So much conviction.
Yeah.
She told me that one time. I told her that story. She said, "Are you nasty?" I was like, "I'm naughty." No, you're nasty. Like that one sound
naughty is
too nice.
It's different.
Yo, hey,
I'm not naughty. I'm nasty as fuck.
I like it.
I'm not naughty.
Yeah.
So, everybody.
I like it.
That was our sex news of the day.
No, wait, really quick. Are we yay or nay? Like, are you yay for group sex or nay?
Honestly?
Yeah.
Now in your life?
Now in my life?
Yeah. At the age of 35.
It'd have to be controlled group sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, number one, it's too much like STD shit going on out there and everything, so I'd kind of be skeptical of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, niggas is catching shit that they could never really get rid of. You know what I'm saying? Type shit.
Yeah.
But, I'm not even gonna lie. I think at this point in my life, threesomes is cool with me. You know, not all the time though.
Which ones?
You know, truthfully,
Yeah.
I believe if you love somebody, man, you cater to their desires, B.
Well said.
What about you?
Macro.
You don't understand what that means.
It means I'm nasty. Like I just said.
Fucking nasty.
You're
Listen,
fucking nasty.
I believe, you know, the pussy was cut in two, which means it's supposed to be shared.
This motherfucker.
You know, whether you want to be another female or another male, it's supposed to be shared. That's how I believe. Power is too great for one man. But you know, I'm no longer monogamous, so
That's my brother. I understand that.
you know, that's me.
God
But
damn, man.
for the monogamous
You
people
put
out
me
there,
with that shit.
you know, you gotta try it sometime.
No, but so Snow, since you asking us,
What?
what about you?
What's your future look like?
What's up with these?
You gonna let that brother live his fantasy?
You gonna let that brother live his good fantasy? You gonna let him live his best life? Or you gonna hold the coochie hostage?
My significant other and I are going to live happily ever after and do whatever the fuck we want to do, whatever comes to mind.
Miss Snow is
Savage.
Yes.
Like a savage.
I like it. I like it. I like
So
it.
let's just build and create our own fantasies and live our best life.
Okay, so hold on.
I like that one.
I got one simple question, real quick.
Yeah.
Monogamous or polygamous?
Yeah, monogamous really does work
What are you?
all the way through, but
What do you feel you are? It's kind of hard to put a label on.
I don't like. I'm like Raven Simone. I don't like labels.
You don't like
I'm not gonna do labels.
Okay, baby. We understand.
I'm not a black female.
We respect. No, you are not a white female, so it's true. I get it.
Hey, yo, I'm sorry. I had to be a gut punch, bro. I swear to God. I don't know what's up with her and Orlando Brown, but not, you know, that's not good. I said it. I talked my shit about it. Y'all niggas is crazy. Fucked up. Y'all just smoke too much shit that I don't need to be around. Anyway, go ahead.
But I'm all about monogamy. But I believe you can be monogamous and still have an open relationship as to an understanding. It has to be controlled and it has to be an understanding.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, we should meet the girl together, we should go out to dinner, we should date her, get to know her, you know, as far as that's concerned. And then smash her. And maybe keep smashing her. Just include her.
Smash it.
I like the way I like her dialect.
Smash it.
And maybe we should smash it. And maybe continue to smash it.
I'll be like,
Yeah.
well, you said it, babe. Check.
So wait, so hold up. So you because I noticed something. You said her. So you're saying that.
I wasn't done.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Savage.
So, my first porno that I saw was in France, and it was a gangbang, right, as you call it. It was firefighters and one woman, and that was the first porno I've ever seen. So what do you think that means? That means that I'm completely
Into the whole
curious and into the whole gangbang thing that you call it. I don't call it gangbanging, I call it fun. So, I've never tried it.
You've never had any fun?
I've never had it. No, I've never had it.
Well, you know what? It's
The
okay.
man that I date,
They just
unfortunately, I don't think they'll be
Selfish.
comfortable with that.
Hey, you know what?
I haven't met a guy that
It's
will say
okay,
whatever you
because she's
want.
constantly in a threesome, like a sandwich,
She'll be
every
like,
week
all
right
the
here.
time.
Every week.
Every week.
She's in the middle.
I'm in a threesome on hump day. Do you guys realize when
Yes.
we talk about sex on hump day?
Mm-hmm.
I realize that.
You
Yeah.
see, it's a perfect.
Yeah.
So
Listen.
sometimes I masturbate to the thought of like multiple people.
Okay, so the fantasy aspect is definitely.
It's
A
definitely-
foursome is definitely in there. Like a foursome, definitely.
Word.
Yeah.
So she likes the menage.
I do.
She's partial to having the menage
I'm
to
so
all.
partial to it.
Well, for me, I don't believe in having dilemmas. So monogamous is off the table for me.
At least you're honest about
I
it.
feel like if I'm stretched both ways, why should I have to choose?
Yeah.
Let's all get on the same page. We're gonna go out to dinner. We're gonna have a conversation about this. I like y'all too. I just need to know if I should keep y'all in the same room or not.
Keep you apart.
It's going on.
Well, we still gotta move on because like normally we take 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
We've taken 45 minutes on one segment.
Oh wow!
It be like that sometimes.
Yeah, let's move on.
And it seems like y'all haven't actually, commented too much. I guess we just been having a conversation about. It's either we've actually invoked. Oh yeah, the game is on.
It's on, isn't it?
Yeah.
You bastards.
Yes. Well, that's why this is recorded. You can always
Just
watch
watch it
after
back.
the game.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
We are going to be
those gambag movements in our head.
right.
So.
They're very
Totally.
interesting.
So the sex position of the week. Now, since we're talking about threesomes,
Definitely a room full of women.
okay, definitely a room full of women.
Yeah.
10 freaky girls. 10 freaky girls in the room.
See, you know, I go to swingers place where you gotta bring somebody. This is on the ring. This is my day.
She's probably all the women in there. Be honest, this position is dope as fuck. I've actually basically this double one is sitting directly on the face, facing the other girl, while the other girl is sitting directly on the dick and riding the dick.
Very sexy.
Right. All of that. Now, the fact is, fellas, if you're a savage like moi, like myself, I actually have a little story about this.
You have a sauvage story?
Go on.
You know,
I'm
I'm gonna be honest. Like, so one day, I was working with two sisters. Yeah, and they said they wanted to share me.
For real.
Okay, so I was like, never had this before.
Like now.
Let's try it out.
Yeah.
So I proceeded to go back to their apartment. And
You got raped.
I didn't get raped because the one thing that they didn't understand is the fact that I didn't come for about 2-3 hours. I was putting in work while laying on my back.
Oh. That's...
Yeah, right. Dr. Evil.
About that.
Right. So, and the thing was, it was like, it got so bad because they kept switching positions with me. One was on my face, one was on my dick, then they had to switch and all of that stuff. They switched about 3-4 different times, and I'm like, oh my God, when is he gonna come? Like, what's going on? Like, why hasn't he come yet? Like, because they're used to, guys just doing it like that. I say, y'all got grown man issues right now. But I don't know what came over me. Like, I became a fucking superhero with super dick that day. No, I actually got excited as fuck. I'm like, both of y'all want me?
Yeah.
It's boy.
Mega excitement.
Right. It was like adrenaline, like times 2, yo. I'm busting it down.
That's the ultimate high.
What? So, in essence, we get home at 1:00 in the morning. The sun comes up. I've already busted one nut, and I'm working on the second one. And both of I basically put their ass both to sleep. They woke up like, you something different.
That's why they love you so much.
It makes sense.
They was like, nah, you something different. So I was like,
different.
Right, different.
Man, bring up the silver up, girl.
All while I was still on my back. But honestly, that was fun. It was very fun.
Yeah.
Y'all need to try these things, man. It's nothing wrong with trying and experiencing. Fuck the taboo shit, man. Just leave the shit alone. So the double cowgirl, not only that, like ladies, you guys can be riding his face. It helps you work on your thighs, the glutes, as well as that core section. Fellas, you already know it is hard to thrust from a planted position. So if you're doing hip thrusts, you're working out your pelvic bone and engaging the core, as well as it's just having a good time, man.
Remember to breathe.
Yes, please.
I'm in that position.
Please, it's like lifting weights, okay? Because if you do not breathe, you will tweak out, and it's gonna happen.
When I'm in that position, all I can remember is cadence on the breathing. And your jaw might get tired sometimes, so you can just leave it there or slide.
Oh, by the way, if your jaw getting tired, you know that you was not. First of all, it does have to get tired. That's how you know you really eating pussy good. But the fact is, it shouldn't get tired too fast. If it gets tired too fast, honestly, you really ain't eating pussy right.
What you gotta do, what you gotta do is just wet it and just make her slide. Just make her slide on shit.
When your mouth gets tired, just use the 2 fingers.
Like that whole sitting on face thing, I keep you no lie, right?
I enjoy it.
Listen, we didn't have intercourse, right? This girl, right? Listen, she wanted to do some little foreplay stuff. Anyway, the foreplay was so intense, she came and whatever, but she wasn't a selfish type girl. When she came, she was just like, that's it. I'm tired, I just want to go to bed that right? So I'm the type of person where I don't put myself in a position where I have to get blue balls unless I know there's pussy coming. Because we did actually agree on me helping her out with some foreplay. She was using my one. So, we did that. And then I started talking about, man, you know what I like? Somebody sit on my face and die. This was her. When I said the patty's back off, it was like this. I never sat on my face before. I was like, yeah. So just the idea or thought of this position, trust me, people get on it.
All right, so we gotta go to the next segment because we gotta get through these things. We get too much into it. It's like crazy. All right, so the next is.
Ask me about the position.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Selfish ass motherfuckers, right?
I'm not selfish, Mom. You're talking so much about.
You're right. I read the face. I read the penis. Just sad.
She done said a whole bunch of faces already. So let's just be real about that right now. I ain't even gonna let her go with that. She probably almost broke a nigga jaw and nose riding this nigga. Face.
Well, luckily I know how to ride a face properly, so no, he won't suffocate and I won't break.
I didn't say he was suffocating.
Oh, okay.
Right. That nigga was just gonna be done.
I mean, he doesn't even have to move it. I'll move for him.
We know this. We know this now. Fucking nasty. See how she said it? I don't even need to hear from Snow. I already know what the fuck Snow is about. I'm telling you right now.
Right in that face.
Yeah.
And she gonna be the type to hold it in position and look at you and be like, I already know. She nasty like that. She just.
Please.
What?
I was great that you open that move that. I was great that you open that move that.
It's even worse if you got hair.
What are you talking about? No.
It's that move that this is that girl. I was like, they got my throat.
This nigga. I can't
with you.
I'll be suffocating people.
Suffocating who? If I'm fucking somebody's throat, that means her head is on. Look, I'm not gonna talk about this. Wait a minute. You trying to make me give out all my secrets and shit.
Right now.
Fuck out of here, boy.
Yeah. What are you doing? That's not cool.
That's not cool. So you're trying to expose people and shit.
Oh my god, how do you know he wanted you to expose him?
He's definitely like OD. Oh, here we go with the fucking sounds. Here we go with the sounds. The velvet throat, people. The infamous velvet throat.
Y'all get too much at the end.
Alright, so we're going to go. The point star of the week. Alright, which brings us to the next topic. Oh my god. By the way, stars, like, seriously, like, this star is great, but we might be looking at the next one. I swear to God.
Before I put this person up, I just want to warn y'all that don't judge her for her name. She is fucking amazing. I promise. Okay.
Listen, and she's a beautiful ebony. This is Tiana Trump.
Yes.
I don't know why she would use the last name Trump. But it must be because she can
stand for someone of a victory.
Right, a victory. It must stand for a victory because she is definitely. I would call her the threesome queen. Like I'm talking about in these videos, she is taking the other girl's head by the hair. Suck that fucking cock, bitch. Like all that type of nasty shit.
You already had to research if she was related to him. Like,
right, like, yo. No, but she's a great ebony porn star. She's sexy as shit. I love the whole. She got a long neck.
Fucking PSL, man. I can't get past that.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I'm gonna enjoy my day at work today.
Like, I can't fucking Stop being boring, ladies. Get into it. You know? I guarantee you're gonna have an orgasm soon.
Suck a nigga dick or something. Suck a nigga dick or something.
Oh my god. Hey, yo. Alright, so.
But yeah,
she's beautiful.
Like, seriously, take y'all up, man. Honestly, if y'all want to see her quickly, go to xvideos.com, type in Tiana Trump. You gonna start seeing all kind of craziness where she's bad.
Start calling her TT for sure.
Yeah, TT. Do you love me? Are you riding this dick on my? Nah. For real though.
I think that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
She bad.
But Kiki.
Yeah, but it's TT.
Right.
You know, I was talking about TT.
Right.
He was talking about Kiki. I don't give a damn.
Right.
But yeah, that's TT. You know, Tiana Trump.
Yeah.
Y'all look it up. Watch some of that porn with your significant other, man. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
You know, we give you these things for a reason, man. Look it up. Have fun with that.
You know what I mean? Are you ready?
Our last segment.
You ready?
I hope you guys are ready. I know I'm ready.
You ready for your pleasure?
Are you ready for your close-up? Miss Snow?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What?
For her pleasure. Let's go. She grabbed the mic. She grabbed the mic.
You guys like how I grabbed it?
Yeah, you know?
Oh, okay.
Now relax.
Okay, so for her pleasure, today is all about vibrators.
Yeah,
Toys. Are you asking or telling us?
I'm telling you, vibrators.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In group sex.
In group sex. Absolutely. Vibrators in group sex would probably be awesome. In my mind, the way that I have it pictured, because I haven't tried it yet.
Have you tried your vibrators on yourself, though?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Are you kidding me? I used to have a bullet that I carry in my purse.
Yeah, a lot of girls been saying that lately. You the second person told me this week. You gotta look at something.
Yeah.
Yeah, bullets always break very quick. You know,
They do, especially when you overuse them. Because there is such thing as overuse.
Yeah, overstimulating the clit, ladies.
Yeah.
it ain't the bullets that's in cracks, it's the bullet.
You can't keep up. So how the hell is if the bullet can't keep up, how a nigga gonna keep up, goddamn me? Y'all too damn selfish. Savage ass
Can I tell you a story?
Go.
So, right.
It's storytelling, man.
Yo, hold on, but this is for her pleasure. This is not your time.
Right,
Bro, it's not your time to talk, bro.
She said yeah.
It's Snow's turn, bro.
What you said?
I
Oh
said
my
go
God.
ahead.
No, Snow. We want to. No, we
we
don't know. But nobody wants to hear you. Everybody wants to hear Snow and her vibrating stories. Like what? Yeah, like that right now. Plus, it's about to be 11. It's 11 o'clock. We're about to end the show because you're being dumb. Snow.
The story I know a long time.
Let's go. Let's go. Thank you.
Okay, so you can tell your story next time, okay?
Don't talk your shit, please.
That's what you're supposed to do, man. That's how you're supposed to do it.
Okay, so vibrators. Vibrators can be used alone as well as with your partner during sex.
Great.
Can you shut the hell up?
You know, I'll tell you.
No, you are giving her the giggles. Can you shut the You know what?
Oh, wait, my jaw hurts. Can you guys stop, please?
Okay.
Okay, so.
Say it myself. Sabe por saber uma boca dessa passagem já.
Oh, by the way, when a girl is giving you head and her jaw starts to hurt, it's really polite if you start massaging her jaw. You know, while she's
Like that.
it's really sweet.
Shit, I'm adding that to my massage routine.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be talking about vibrators. Now we're talking about. You see what you did? No.
Is that it?
Uh-huh.
Yo, man, put this in my routine.
Yeah.
Do you
So
see
we
how?
have the
Do
end.
you see how you done fucked up the whole foreigner pleasure? It done turned into your pleasure
So
type of shit.
So vibrators can be used for anything. So the vibrating sensation will definitely be a turn on. It's very sexual. So, yeah. Actually, like I told you before, when you go out to buy vibrators and test it, you test something to your nose. Because it feels the same way as it would feel on your clitoris. Not the exact same pleasure, but you'll definitely get that same sensation.
Where?
So, see, foreplay was really short. Next time I talk about vibrators, I'll have one so I can show you guys an example of how it works.
Like that. Like that a lot, Snau.
And something sexy too, when you're having dinner, you can slip out the bullets right now and just sit on the table and have it just vibrate. It's actually a very sexy sound. And if she's used to using vibrators, she'll do this.
You kind of get that curious stuff.
I kind of want to just give somebody vibrating panties and have the control.
Yeah, that's very sexy.
I actually saw that like
Very good shades of you.
Look, I know, Jared.
No, but I'm just saying, like, no, for real. I actually saw it on a movie and it was pretty dope. But it was a little boy that kept turning it up and down.
Yeah.
And she was at a table with her bosses.
I remember.
Yo.
Captain
word?
Hygo.
What's it called?
It's called
The Ugly Truth.
The Ugly Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, those vibrating panties look like everything. She was really.
you know
But she wasn't sexy with it though.
no, but she was trying to be calm
Yeah.
with it, but she was a little bit sexy. I gotta give it to her. She was a little bit sexy,
I don't know. I gotta watch it again.
but it was too funny.
It was funny.
It was definitely funny.
So can
So
you imagine that though? I would love that to have to give somebody that kind of control over me.
that would be fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be.
Yeah, a whole lot of fun.
Vibrating panty on
I
delivery.
need a boyfriend.
Totally. We're gonna give
You know you fucked up, right?
the control.
Why?
You know that you just told them that you
I said
We're
that
gonna
out loud.
give y'all the
all the way
control.
out loud.
And you know, yeah.
So really quick, before we go, I want to have a quick disclaimer. Okay, so listen, I'm a very sexual woman. I'm comfortable with my sexuality. I'm comfortable. I like to swallow cum.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know this.
You should tell everybody.
Just because I'm nasty and I'm nasty as fuck and savage and dirty doesn't mean that you can approach me on that level. Now understand, I choose who I want to fuck.
Huh?
Oh, my
You,
choice.
in your case, you don't have a choice. You just fuck whatever you can get. So because it's my choice, you have to respect that. So I would appreciate if you don't come at me on some fugazi shit, on some disrespectful stuff, because at the end of the day, I'm still a lady. Okay? Just because I'm nasty doesn't mean I'm not a lady. So, you know, sucking dick doesn't make me a slut. So I'm just saying. I love you guys very much. Thank you for listening.
Motherfuckers! I was waiting for that.
Superiority.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That was female superiority at its fucking best. So, anyway, man.
Chosen motherfucker.
It's your
I love the
and-
number 8, by the way. I love the number 8. Do you know why? Do you guys know
Yes.
why? So, the number 8 is actually a very sexual number. If you look at the way it's made, it's shaped like a woman, number 1, right? Number 2, you can also kind of figure 8 a vagina, right? And it's also the motions of eating pussy. Like, you eat pussy like this. So, yeah, only I can turn number 8 into something that, you know, didn't teach me.
Snow. You already know, everybody. Like I said,
Yeah.
okay.
Next
It's
time you
like,
guys eat pussy, eat it in the figure.
trust me, I have no problems in that department.
Yeah, we're gonna try it now. You figure out.
I've already tried it in 8 figures. I've turned it into grab. Y'all trying to get me to motherfucking expose my tricks.
Shit.
Look, nah. I'm not doing it. Alright, I could give a whole class on eating.
It's
Yeah,
infinity
I was
number.
just about to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so masterclass on eating pussy is coming up.
No, it's not.
Right,
No, it's not.
You're first.
No, it's not. Like I said. Okay, we started. They getting OD right now. They cutting up. Anyway. We signing off, man. Thanks for tuning in, man. Make sure if you want to advertise with us, you want to talk with us, hit us up. Like I said, we got our Fantasy Nova party June 23rd. It's called Taboo.
June 23rd.
It will be at Goldfinger Gentlemen's Club in Sunrise.
Taboo.
All y'all people come out.
It is our launch. It is our launch party for FantasyNova.com, where you can get all of your vibrators, your toys, your sexy lingerie, the nice nipple pinchers, all of that type of stuff. All right, and if you buy a ticket to the party,
blindfolds, the
and
whips,
and
candy. Oh my God, it's a freaking.
And if you buy a ticket to the party, y'all will get a free toy. Don't you dare say nothing. I'm gonna grab that though.
But that makes me.
Shut up.
I'm gonna put the link in the description.
Like I said,
But go to tickets.fantasynova.com and get your ticket right now. You'll see the one that says with gift, and you definitely have something to play with while you're at the party. So it's
gonna be mad dope.
It's not me though. You can't play with me.
That's a lie.
That's debatable.
That's real debatable.
Where you come looking awesome because she picks you like she
right.
said.
She'll pick you. If she picks you,
yeah, just stand up on the corner.
Just know she's a savage. Remember, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
You know, she liked
facts.
Yeah, all that. So be careful of your face. What I'm trying to say.
Are they pimping me out right now?
No, we're not pimping
We're
out.
not getting paid for this.
Right. Thank you. We're not getting paid for this whatsoever. Don't you, I am a life coach. I am not.
We'll have a whole bunch of guys line up on the wall, and when you come in, just pick. There you go.
Oh shit, she got real excited.
Anyway,
Anyway, like I said, we signing off. This is Talk Your Shit.
I have a question.
Oh my God. We gonna go for 2 hours now. Let's go.
Are we gonna have cupcakes at the party?
Did she really ask about the cupcakes? Yo, we go.
Publix cupcakes though. I don't do Publix.
Yo, can you sign us off? So we out here.
All right.
We
bye.
love y'all. Stay
love
tuned
you.
for the ass. I can't stay, y'all.
Later.
Oh, thank you, Andre. Thank you for watching. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the comments.
What the fuck? Hey, yo.
Understand me. No, I won't feed my family. I just need to be my understand me. People walking with me like Tammy. I just need to be my understand me. Wanna be a bit time like man. I just need to be my understand me.